Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. Guys, during chapter 1130 of the One Piece manga, we see what Frankie and the other members of Luffy's crew, who weren't captured with him, were doing. They were on Elbaf's ship, tired from searching for something or someone. Frankie tells the giants that they have done all they can. Even Jinbe asked the sharks for help searching the surrounding seas, but they found nothing. So the solution they choose is to trust their Nakamas and head to Elbaf, the land of the giants. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Meanwhile, Luffy and the rest of the crew exit from a diorama, a type of miniature, and discover that they were inside a gigantic castle, something like a Lego castle in the middle of a snowy land surrounded by forests and mountains. The scenery is immense, so much so that Nami feels dizzy just thinking about the scale of things. They see two people crossing a bridge toward the castle, Goldberg and Gerd, members of the new giant warrior pirates, led by Hadrudin. They are accompanied by Piper, a giant owl. Nami, always cautious, notices that invasion is illegal in Elbaf and decides that the group should hide. While Goldberg and Gerd knock on the castle door, Luffy and his crew try to escape across the bridge. But in the middle of the way, Luffy stops. He feels something strange, something powerful. It's as if a cry from an extremely strong man is echoing through his body. He decides to investigate, while Sanji and Zoro argue over who will go with him. Sanji, as always, doesn't let Zoro into a forest, perhaps because he gets lost easily. Luffy then jumps off the bridge toward the forest. Back on Elbaf's ship, Dory and Brogy, the legendary giant warriors, receive shocking news. The newspaper reports that their crew attacked Egghead Island along with Luffy. Brogy is furious because he knows it's a lie, and Robin reads the article to them. She explains that Dory and Brogy now have a huge bounty of 1.8 billion berries each. It's a big jump from their previous bounty of only 100 million. Brogy is shocked, but Robin mentions that this inflation in bounties is not surprising for the leaders of the Warriors of Elbaf. The story also reports that Luffy was responsible for Vegapunk's death, which is obviously a lie to cover up the attack by the Elders in Kizaru. However, what Robin finds strange is seeing an X on Luffy's arm in a photo. She feels like she's seen something like it before, but can't remember where. Meanwhile, we learn more about Elbaf. During the time Dory and Brogy were away, an evil giant named Loki was born. He was the cursed prince of Elbaf, so evil that he killed his own father, the king, to obtain a legendary devil fruit passed down through the royal family. Loki ended up being contained, but now there is fear that he might escape, and all the warriors of Elbaf need to unite to imprison him. And then, in an epic scene, Luffy finally meets Loki. He is an impressive-looking giant, slim, muscular, with tattoos and an axe on his back. Loki, with his long, threatening tongue, asks Luffy's name. Luffy responds in only the way he would, "I'm Luffy, the man who will become the Pirate King." Loki reveals that they are in the Land of War, Elbaf, the most powerful place in the world. Finally, the chapter ends with a spectacular view of Elbaf. Huge mountains, the colossal Yggdrasil tree at the center, which is at least 12 times taller than the mountains, and a majestic castle in its branches. It's the perfect setting for the next stage of the adventure. However, the main point of today's video is what Loki said at the end of the chapter when he introduced himself as Loki, the sun god who will bring an end to this world. And since his name is Loki, we can already expect some references that might link to mythology. But first, let's talk about how he gained the power of his fruit. As you saw, during the period when Dory and Brogy were in Little Garden, Loki was born and became known as the cursed prince of Elbaf, known for his cruelty from an early age. From what we've seen, he has always been a feared figure among the giants, not only for his strength, but also for the insatiable ambition he carried. Unlike other Elbaf warriors who lived by the code of honor and glory in battles, Loki didn't care about traditions or his family's honor. He only wanted power, and he knew exactly where to find it. In fact, the first mention we had of him came through Big Mom's daughter, as Charlotte Linlin tried to force her daughter to marry him. Moreover, we might be closer to an explanation of how it's possible to take someone else's devil fruit, something done by Teach and his crew. After all, in Elbaf, there was the story of a devil fruit possibly passed down from generation to generation among the royal family members or simply conquered by him. What's important at this moment is that Loki took his father's life to gain the power of his fruit, which he succeeded in doing. So, we should find out how he did this, which will explain much about some of the mysteries of One Piece. It's worth remembering that Charlotte Linlin, Big Mom, also inherited her devil devil fruit. The Soru Soru no Mi previously belonged to Mother Carmel, and then it was passed to Big Mom. In this case, there's no official explanation yet, but what we can understand is that Big Mom accidentally devoured Mother Carmel, and because of this, ended up acquiring her devil fruit. Returning to the most recent chapter, Loki was imprisoned, and knowing Luffy, it's almost certain that he'll free the giant, who in the end may be the big villain of this current One Piece arc. Additionally, as I've mentioned in other videos, Luffy has no idea that he himself is the true sun god. And here we go, the name Loki, the prince I mentioned a while ago, seems to be a clear reference to the Norse god Loki. Although the Loki in One Piece hasn't been much developed in the series yet, his name carries symbolic weight, especially within the context of Elbaf, which seems to be inspired by Viking culture and mythology. There is a possibility that the name Loki was chosen to highlight a false connection between Elbaf's royal family and the gods of Norse mythology, or perhaps the name was given to him in honor of the fruit eaten by the king, the character's father. After all, we know from real-world mythologies that kings were often families who pretended to be descendants of gods. It's possible that the giants of Elbaf, or at least their royal lineage, declared themselves descendants of the gods, which would strengthen their power and status in society. After all, as I said, claiming divine descent is a strategy used in various cultures throughout real history to legitimize royalty and power, and this could explain why the Prince of Elbaf bears the name of such an important figure from Norse mythology. If the giants of Elbaf pretend to be descendants of gods, this could be a way to control and lead their people, inspiring respect and fear. The name Loki, therefore, could either be a direct tribute or a reference for fans. The important point here is that the mythology involving Loki might actually exist in the world of One Piece. And if this deity was once worshipped, it means there could also be a Loki devil fruit. After all, we know that the sun god Nika originated the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. We don't know if the first Nika really existed, but people's belief in him caused the fruit eaten by Joy Boy and later by Luffy to emerge. We also know there was a belief in the Kyubi no Kitsune, the legend of a nine-tailed fox that had the power to transform into any person. Due to this legend, the Inu Inu no Mi model Kyubi no Kitsune emerged, which is a mythical Zoan-type devil fruit that allows the user to transform into a nine-tailed fox and take the form of other people, as seen with its current user, Katarina Devon, who even transformed into Absalom to deceive Gecko Mariah. If there is belief in Loki among the giants, then the Hito Hito no Mi of Loki must exist. And considering that Zoan fruits can choose their perfect user, Loki's fruit would undoubtedly choose our favorite liar, Luffy. Loki, in Norse mythology, is known as the god of lies and mischief, famous for his tricks, deceptions, and ability to manipulate events to his advantage. He often deceives both gods and mortals, and many of his actions, though they may initially seem problematic, end up being essential for the development of events. A classic example is when Loki tricks the gods into obtaining the most valuable treasures of the dwarves, including Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. Although his actions are often motivated by selfishness or the pleasure of trickery, they frequently have a greater impact on the fate of gods and humans. In this case, Loki's lie could be that he is the sun god, and the true sun god may have to confront him. If Loki, the cursed prince of Elbaf, consumed a devil fruit inspired by the god of lies, the fruit could grant powers focused on deception, manipulation, and illusion, which makes sense since he's trying to deceive Luffy. Loki could change his physical appearance and voice completely, taking on the form of any person or creature, similar to a mix of abilities between the main no Mai, Mr. Two Bon Clay's fruit, and the Hana Hana no Mi, Robin's fruit. However, as the fruit would be a mythical zone model, he could also incorporate mythological traits, such as transforming into legendary or divine beings. This would allow him to, for example, transform into a version of the sun god, based on Nika or another god, and deceive even the most powerful opponents. Loki might be able to create massive, realistic illusions around him, deceiving all of his opponents' senses. He could make his enemies believe they are in a different location, being attacked by an invisible army, or even manipulate the environment to make them think they are safe. These illusions would have no limits in scale and could cover gigantic areas. He could also create illusions of allies or colossal monsters to confuse his opponents and make them doubt reality. Beyond the ability to transform, Loki could also mimic the powers of other gods or mythological creatures throughout history. As the god of lies, he would have the ability to imitate abilities like the flames of the sun, resembling the sun god, thunderstorms like Zeus, or even create indestructible images of himself. He could pretend to have any ability, confusing his opponents by using illusory attacks or mimicking the devastating techniques of his enemies. Temporary alteration of truth. As the god of lies, Loki could even temporarily change the reality of something. For example, he could make a common sword appear to be a legendary weapon imbued with haki or special powers. Or he could alter the perception of a regular attack, making it seem extremely powerful when, in reality, it would have no real effect. This would confuse opponents and make them react to something that doesn't exist. The fruit could allow him to manipulate not just vision, but all the senses to the fullest. He could create sounds, smells, touches, and even illusory temperatures, making his opponents feel pain or cold, even if they're safe. This would give him a psychological advantage, disorienting even the strongest opponents. But what do you think about this? Could he be the greatest current enemy of the sun god? Share your thoughts. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.